What is up, everyone? Merry Christmas Eve to everyone out there. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Prop It Up. Joining me tonight is Mid-Major Matt. Mid-Major Matt, without you, we would not be doing this show. Thank you to you. You lit a fire under us and got us to do this impromptu prop show, and it was very smart. We got a lot of football. We got a lot of basketball. So thank you. Hoping you're having a good Christmas Eve, Matt.
Yeah. It's funny because Fridays are our time, and I'm like, we did the Black Friday show, but then we did the Thanksgiving show, and I'm like, I don't think we're working on Christmas, so maybe we should do something. And I was like, yeah, let's do it tonight. And so Andrew's got family things, so it's just you and me tonight.
No, I'm just kidding. I got done with family things too. So we're gonna just go down the slate of football games this weekend, and then we're gonna talk some NBA because NBA is in full swing, and I learned a lot the last couple nights. A lot of things jumped off the page. So thank you to everybody that's joining us tonight. One Way Street, Jason, Watch Me Now, of course, Chance, all you guys. Thank you so much. Let's get you some information, and I have a present for my friend Mid-Major Matt. So I think we'll do it at the end of the football stuff. At the end of the football stuff, I'll give you your present. Does that work?
I guess so. I feel like the jerk I am by not having anything for you tonight.
Oh no, it's nothing big. I didn't spend any money on it. Are you kidding me? So it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it. So let's start off with the Christmas Day game. We got Vikings at Saints. Short week for both teams. I think you could make a case for a ton of props in this game. I know where my head is at. So, Matt, what are you looking at? Vikings, Saints. You got the Vikings, who you made me laugh out loud last week when I said I think they're a sneaky bad team, and you said no, they're just a bad team. So it's a great line by you. So talk to me, Vikings and Saints. What are you looking for?
So it's actually funny you said that, because I was texting with somebody else in our industry, and I said, I can't find a darn thing tomorrow because
really.
It's funny. The one thing that stood out to me was the Kirk Cousins completions, because it figures to be a negative game script for the Vikings. And it's 20.5. It's 21.5 in some places. So it's, around that number. But I looked, he's gone over that number in 6 straight times. So I don't understand what, obviously, look, the Saints defense is really good. Their secondary is really good. But to me, it's like he's going to be throwing a lot, and the Saints could be up a lot, in which, garbage time completions could come into play. So it almost felt like it was too obvious to take the Kirk Cousins completions. And then you look like, I was bit last week by the Kamara receiving yards. He didn't get enough receiving yards. He only caught, 3 passes last week. So I'm a little snake bitten there. Latavius Murray's not doing enough. I don't trust Emmanuel Sanders. And so, I looked over everything. Dan Bailey's number was 5.5 points, but he misses too many kicks. And Will Lutz's is 7.5, and they may score a lot of touchdowns. So outside of that Kirk Cousins completions, which I'd love to get your thoughts on, I didn't find anything.
I do like the Kirk Cousins completions because the Saints have such a good defense against the run. Now, I got to say, Dalvin Cook is proving to be basically matchup proof. I mean, fantasy-wise, you would never bench him, and props-wise, it'd be impossible to try and predict a game for him going under. So I do think the script goes against Minnesota. I talked about this a little bit earlier today. Minnesota's been down at halftime the last couple games, so it would lead you to believe there's going to be some catching up to do from Cousins. I actually leaned Kamara over just his rushing total because I think the script goes against the Vikings, and they've just been getting gashed on the ground. They got 32 carries, 146 yards against Montgomery last week. And if the Saints do get up, I think that you're going to see some extra touches for Murray and Kamara in the second half. I saw Murray's total was only 33.5. And, dang it, it's hard to trust Latavius Murray. But I kind of like some of the rushing options for the Saints here. And I know Kamara doesn't rush for over 60.5 yards very often. But if there is a team to do it, the Vikings aren't playing for anything. The Saints they're motivated. So I kind of liked some of the rushing totals for the Saints. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Well, the problem is Kamar's not the type to salt a game away. Like, they don't want to make him like between the tackles guy, and that's Latavius Murray, which, I might have to go back and look more at that low number for Murray on his rushing yards. But then this is also a team that could put Taysom Hill in there to run the ball. So it's just, I don't like anything involving the Saints offense in terms of that stuff. And Kamar's rushing and receiving is 111, I think, or 110. And that's way too high because he hasn't hit that in quite a while.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I also think we might be able to do something with Breeze. Sorry guys, we lost lost a little connection there. My apologies. We were talking about the Saints and Kamara. Matt brought up a great point that Kamara's rushing and receiving total has not hit the last few weeks, which is absolutely true. And then couple that with the fact that Breeze's arm looked like it was basically falling apart last week, and talked about it earlier today that the coming off on short rest, the Vikings defense is going to be a little bit banged up. But Matt, I find it hard to believe that Breeze is going to be okay after short rest, like 5 days. All of a sudden his arm's going to be better. Could we look at maybe Breeze and maybe under his throwing total?
Well, here's the funny thing. I like to take occasionally the longest pass. And he's gone over it the past couple games. It's like 35, 36. Last week he had a 40-yarder to Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, in theory, you would think that all he does is dink and dunk, but apparently the last couple games he's had some long throws, and I do not like this Minnesota secondary. So while I would normally take the under for Breeze, I don't know if I can right now.
Okay. All right. Well, there's the Vikings at Saints. With all this COVID stuff, I got to wonder, like, how many people are not going to their normal huge family gatherings? And if they're going to be at home and just like, let's throw something on the Vikings at Saints. This could be one of those sneaky, like, huge handle bet football games of the year. So let's move to Saturday's games. We got 3 of them: Buccaneers at Lions, 49ers at Cardinals, Dolphins at Raiders. Let's start with Buccaneers at Lions. Buccaneers have scored 0 points in their last 4 games. It's incredible to think that in the first quarter that they cannot score. And they're going up against the Lions, who they're missing coaches. It's just a mess of a Lions team. It's so Detroit. I have a couple thoughts on this one, but Matt, I'll start with you. What do you think about Buccaneers and Lions?
Well, I mean, these are two teams who are not very good defensively in the first quarter. Tampa Bay is 31st. They allow 6.9 points per first quarter. They've allowed 8 points per first quarter the last 3 games. It's Leonard Fournette time. Everybody runs on the Detroit Lions, but Leonard Fournette's kind of washed up. So maybe you look at Leonard Fournette anytime touchdown. Detroit is 28th in the league, allowing 6.4 points per first quarter, 10 the last 3 games. So I actually usually take only unders in the first quarter. Maybe it's an over for the first quarter. I don't know. Over for the first half, but you can't trust the Lions defense. And certainly the Bucs offense has to play 4 quarters. So we'll see. I mean, there's no reason to think. And then you got the coaches that aren't going to be there. I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, Darrell Bevell's the offensive coordinator and the head coach. He's not going to be there. The defensive coordinator is not going to be there. So I don't know. Maybe a Lions team total under here. It feels like they're a chicken with their head cut off.
I said I kind of like Detroit +3 in the first quarter. I know they can't stop anybody, but it's like you got the movable force against the whatever the phrase is. It's the opposite of that. The Buccaneers can't score. The Lions can't stop anybody. I kind of like the Lions getting 3 points. If they get a touchdown on one of their drives, that prop is probably going to hit. So, and yeah, I can't believe we're looking at Leonard Fournette props. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And next game, 49ers at Cardinals. 49ers are they're just kind of a mess all over the place. I don't know if you can trust anything. Maybe we got some Ayuk props. Cardinals. I kind of like Hopkins. He seems to be gotten back on track now that Murray seems to be a little bit more healthy. Do you have anything 49ers and the Cardinals?
This feels like a sneaky over because, I mean, CJ Beathard is maybe an upgrade over Nick Mullins, but even if George Kittle's going to play in this game, and even if he plays 50% of the snaps, he's still so big in terms of deserving attention. The Ayuk props, I looked at him last week. It was 6.5 for his receptions, and I was like, wait a second. I mean, Nick Mullins is terrible, and of course he went over because I think he had 9, but the 49ers offense is going to carry some weight here. And of course, I like your Hopkins thing because Hopkins is annoyed that people don't, he doesn't practice during the week and then he still kills it. And so I feel like he's one of those guys to be like, screw you guys, I'm going out there and getting 10 catches. So I do like the Hopkins stuff as well. But yeah, this feels like a sneaky over. The Arizona Cardinals averaging 15.6 points per first half at home. Their first half number is 13.5 too. There might be a chance I might be on the Arizona first half over there as they can score 2 touchdowns.
Next game, Dolphins at the Raiders. Raiders have really fallen apart. This is now a real trend with John Gruden coached Raider teams that once December comes, they just really, really struggle. The Dolphins have been really good against running backs. I think they're allowing 3.68 yards a carry the last 3 games. So you're a little worried about Josh Jacobs. And of course, we got to check on Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. I got to say, for props, I would prefer Derek Carr to play because I think it's a little bit more predictable. And if I see Derek Carr in there, I would love to take some kind of unders, whether it's first quarter or first half. Dolphins defense is really good. I don't trust the Raiders, but I also don't trust Tua. He's young, obviously. He's probably going to get better, but I don't think that offense is exactly humming underneath his leadership right now. Dolphins, Raiders, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, you know how I feel about your Raiders. I mean, I've said it.
Raiders.
Your Raiders. The past month, I've said I said this on Wednesday on the presidential address. I literally wished any other team in America was playing the Dolphins because this is the most massive flat spot. Because they're coming off of beating the Patriots. They're coming off of all the accolades involved with that. They didn't score in the first quarter last week. Miami's still number 1 in the league at 6.9 points per first quarter. The Raiders have allowed the 3rd most points to kickers the last 4 games. So maybe the Jason Sanders props come into play. And I did see Derek Carr was not in the final injury report, so it looks like he's going to start. I can't touch anything with that offense. I have to decide if I'm going to start Josh Jacobs in my fantasy championship. So we'll see. He's going to get the work, but I mean, if he goes 3 yards every time, it's not going to matter. Plus, he doesn't catch passes. So this game feels like an under, team totals under, the kickers type thing. It's going to be an interesting, teams like the Patriots of old win this game rather easily. The Dolphins, I think, are still learning how to win games like this. So yeah, there's not a lot of props offensively that I would take overs on here.
Yeah, Max Newman in the YouTube channel brings up a good one. The Dolphins have been turnover masters this year. So maybe you might look at, if Derek Carr is the quarterback, maybe a Derek Carr interception, or if there's any kind of fumble prop at some really good plus money price. I think that could be a good one. So good stuff, Max. Great point. Let's move to Sunday's games. First game listed on wagertalk.com, Broncos at Chargers. I'm in a fantasy championship as well, and I have Keenan Allen. And it's killing me because he's a game time decision, which probably means he's going to play and catch 1 pass for 11 yards. And that's it. Hunter Henry is now out. He's on the COVID list. So you have this really oddball Chargers team where it looks like Mike Williams has a bad back, Keenan Allen, bad hamstring. Hunter Henry has the COVID. And they're going up against the Broncos with Drew Lock and Melvin Gordon and all those. So I really like the Broncos' talent. I just don't know if they're completely there yet for me to take some overs. I really like Tim Patrick. That might be an anytime score because I'm not sure if the Chargers are going to do anything. Maybe looking at Chargers team total under maybe in the first half. What do you got? Broncos and Chargers.
I mean, this is almost an easy pass here with all the skill position guys that aren't playing. And Drew Lock, Drew Lock's very capable of going over a 1.5 touchdown pass, but he's also capable of going over 1.5 interception prop. I mean, it's tough. He's captain garbage time. So fourth quarter could be depending upon what the score is. But then the Chargers, can you trust them in any sort of situation where they may not have Allen, they may not have Henry, they may not have Williams? I mean, maybe it's an Austin Eckler thing, the rushing and receiving yards. I don't know. I would have thought Jalen Guyton would have done more, but it was Tyron Johnson last week. So this could be an easy pass for me. Yeah,
the Tyron Johnson's an interesting one. I almost played him last week and didn't, but I actually kind of like that one. Broncos defense is nothing to write home about. So if you are without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Hunter Henry, I actually kind of like that play the more and more I think about it. So Browns at Jets, the prop that keeps on giving is the Jets first quarter score. I kind of just came up with this on the spur of the moment. We should do an end of the year NFL prop award show called the Propsies and give out our best ones. But I think the Jets first quarter is the runaway for that. So they're going up against a Browns team that's really good right now. Defense is looking good. Baker Mayfield is humming along. Obviously that running game, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Surely there's something here besides the Jets first quarter. What do you like, Browns and the Jets?
By the way, it is 8 straight, and last week it was plus 140. And I think 5 or 6 of them were the first drive. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's amazing. The first drive they come out, they're like they're like the greatest show on turf, and then the rest of the game, they're like what was that Buccaneers team that went winless, like the 80-something Buccaneers or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know what? There's not a lot here either. You look at Cleveland. I mean, Baker's going to get his, but this could also be a Baker, 14 of 20 type game, 200-something yards, 2 touchdowns, and then it's a Hunt and Chubb kind of game. Hunt's kind of fallen off, so I don't know if he's either been struggling or maybe they're saving him for the end of the season. So in a way, this is a game that doesn't have a ton. Cleveland's given up 14.6 points per first half on the road. Remember, this is their second straight game in New York, so that's kind of interesting as well. But I mean, it's that Jets first quarter thing. That might be about it.
Yeah, don't overthink it. Jets first quarter, maybe even first half. So Bengals at Texans. Not a lot of people tuning into this game. Bengals at Texans. Bengals coming off a pretty incredible win at Pittsburgh, and the Texans still can't stop anybody. This time it's more through the air, so I would be looking at T. Higgins myself. The Bengals can't run the ball at all, but the Texans can't stop anybody throwing. So Bengals at Texans, anything piquing your interest? I do like Deshaun Watson. The guy just figures out a way to get it done. I might like him in some of the passing props.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so, because that's my QB decision is Watson or Tannehill this weekend, and they both have good situations, and so I'm trying to figure that out. Kiki Kuti will be interesting. I think they're going to try and feed him early after the fumble at the end of the game last time and trying to get him over it, so Kiki Kuti could be worth a look. I had last week, one of my frustrating losses was I had the over 2.5 for Chad Hansen. And of course he had 2 and he had the touchdown, which was good because we had the touchdown prop, but he only had 2 receptions for the 2.5. He's kind of come on the, as of late. They don't run the ball. So, but by the way, the line here is kind of crazy. I feel like I can't lay this many points with the Texans. I mean, it's just their defense is so bad that you can't lay this many points, right?
Not after a Bengals team that legit beat the Steelers. I mean, obviously Big Ben looked terrible, but that Bengals team came to play. I mean, these are not players that want to tank. These are players and coaches that want to play for something. They have their quarterback. It's not like they want to tank for the number 1 pick. There's sometimes where you have teams that want to lose. The coaches want them to lose, and the owner wants them to lose. But this is not a team that wants to lose. So I am with you on the overall game line. I know this is a prop show. We don't talk about spreads a whole lot, but I think I'm with you on this one. You can't lay that many points with a terrible defense.
Exactly, and although for the other side, you could think that last week was the Super Bowl for the Bengals, short week. But I mean, this is potentially a teasable game. You tease it up, you get the Bengals over 2 touchdowns, you tease it down. But even then, I still don't trust the Texans.
Yeah. Colts at Steelers, probably marquee game of the week. I can't see one that's better than this one. Steelers are absolutely reeling. They cannot run the ball. Big Ben cannot pass the ball. And now we get to see Phillip Rivers outside in the cold, which can always be fun. Jonathan Taylor's really come into his own, been very, very impressed at what he's been doing. He's really starting to look the part as a lead back. He's got this job. T.Y. Hilton has started to come alive. This is a tough one for me. I don't know where to go with this one. This is a complete pass for me. I don't know if you have anything on the Colts and Steelers.
Well, I mean, I know we're supposed to give out information on this, but I agree with you. The thing I would look at here potentially, and I got to go back and see Ben's chart, but I mean, under on the longest pass for Big Ben, he's just not getting the ball out there. And the Colts secondary is good enough that They're not going to. Who goes deep on this team? I mean, Claypool's usually good for one, but I mean these numbers usually are in the 30s, and Big Ben's not throwing the ball 30 yards, so I might be looking at the under for his longest reception. Maybe the same for Phillip Rivers. His arm's not what it used to be, although T.Y. Hilton could break one. But I think the under for the longest completion could be where I look in this game.
Yeah, I think this for me, this might be just an entertaining game to watch, and I probably won't have money involved. Bears at Jaguars. The David Montgomery second half continues. Like we all the fantasy experts said, look at David Montgomery at the end of the year, and he has just been churning out stats. Allen Robinson has been hitting his over. Trubisky's not been horrible, and now they get a Jaguars team that is just given up on the season, and why not? I don't see the number. I don't know if it's out yet, but if Montgomery is anything under 90 yards, I'll probably be playing that one. I saw our boy James Robinson's hurt. Game time decision at best, but I don't think he practiced today. So Bears at Jaguars, anything?
I mean, you've got a Jaguars team that's going to tank right. I mean, if James Robinson plays and then we find out he plays, I might take the under in his stuff. I think you're right. I don't think he's going to play as much. I don't think they're going to just run him as much as they have. So, and then, I'm with you on Montgomery. Anything under 90 would be great. I mean, anything under 120 for his rushing and receiving, because he's still catching the ball. I mean, that's probably another place to go, because then you can gather in the receiving yards as well. But I wish this Montgomery showed up for Nick Foles. That would have been nice, because this offense would have been a whole lot better.
Well, they're also getting some cake opponents.
Well, that too, yes.
They're getting some really, really nice one. So, I'll bring this up now. So the Jaguars play the Colts the last week of the season, and the Patriots play the Jets the last week of the season, and Patriots are going to be out of it. What if the Colts have their playoff position locked up? Is it conceivable that you could watch the Colts try and throw a game so the Jaguars win to not get Trevor Lawrence at the exact same time the Patriots are throwing a game so the Jets don't get Trevor Lawrence? You're not buying into this for 1 second, are you?
Wow, when Chris Thompson's starting under center for the Jaguars in that game, week 17. Oh, I'm sorry, Minshew and Glennon and the third guy and Luton, they all were in a room bathing in COVID, so they can't play. I'm sorry. Or maybe it's that Divine as Becco or the third running back. By the way, the Jags team total's 20.5. I might take the under there. The Jaguars might actually do the whole, did you ever play Tecmo Super Bowl where you run backwards and you try and complete pace? The Jaguars may run backwards the whole game.
It's very, very possible. So, oh man, so funny. Panthers at the football team. Hey, football team defense is looking like no joke, and the Panthers just keep sliding and sliding and sliding. So congratulations to the Panthers. They're finally doing it smart. McCaffrey not going to play this week. They've just sat him. They took basically a year of damage off of McCaffrey's career, which is just so smart on their point. But tough to find some value in the Panthers. Looks like do we even know what's going to happen with Dwayne Haskins? I mean, I saw the coach come out and say, well, we're just going to fine him. It's like, oh, yeah. This is a practice squad player. He would have been cut immediately with those pictures from the strip club. So I guess it's dependent on the quarterback for this game for the football team. But in all honesty, this is just a gigantic stay away for me.
Well, the crazy thing is today we saw in a span of like 15 minutes on Twitter, Mike Garafolo came out and said, oh, Alex Smith is throwing to receivers. This is a good sign. Looks like he's going to play. And then Ian Rappaport said, yeah, I agree. And then Adam Schefter said, yeah, it's going to be Dwayne Haskins. And I'm like, who do I trust in this one? And yeah, you're right. The Panthers have allowed 110 targets to tight ends, which is fifth most, and 101 targets to running backs. So to me, if Haskins plays, it's an over on Logan Thomas. I think he caught his 18th
huge
pass.
game.
Yeah, he had a huge game. And then if it's Alex Smith, it's McKissick. So to me, those are the two guys on the receptions that I'm looking at. But then again, Antonio Gibson has moved up his practice a little bit, so we'll see there. But this will be a key tomorrow to see what the injury report is and who the quarterback is before we decide who we're taking.
Okay, yeah, check the injury report. And speaking of injury report, here's another one, Giants at Ravens. I talked about this on Wager Talk today. Without Daniel Jones in, the Giants have scored a total of 3 points in the last first halves. and they're getting the Ravens, who have been good in the first half. So if Colt McCoy gets the start, I'm looking to take the Giants team total under the first half, no questions asked. If Daniel Jones gets the start, he's been able to put up points in the first half, so I would just stay away from it. With the Ravens, I just find this team so infuriating with the running game. You just, like, what do you do? Is it Lamar Jackson is he gonna run for 13 yards or 113? Like, is Gus Edwards gonna get the big one? Is J.K. Dobbins? I find the Ravens very, very frustrating. I'm hoping to get Colt McCoy as the starter so I can take the Giants and the team total under. What do you think about Giants and the Ravens?
By the way, the Giants, almost as good as the Jets. I think they've scored in 6 of their last 8 first quarters. Last week, I was furious when they faked that field goal and 4th down. And I'm like, seriously, all I need you guys to do is score a point, and you're going to fake a field goal. And not only are you going to fake the field goal, you're going to have that screwed up formation and have the punter throwing to an offensive line. But luckily, they scored the next drive. But in the moment, I was very unhappy. The Giants are a good first quarter team. And you're right. If Daniel Jones plays, I'll look to him. A banged up Ingram against the Ravens isn't exactly a guy I want to back. Wayne Gallman, not exactly. There's nobody in the Giants I like. And as you said, the Ravens are just so frustrating. I mean, J.K. Dobbins should get 20 carries a game.
He should. Absolutely.
It's ridiculous. A couple of weeks ago, they put an Ingram prop up, and Ingram barely played, and then they took an Ingram prop down. So if anybody puts one of those up, you take the under. But yeah, this game is a prop nightmare when it comes to who's playing.
All right, Falcons at Chiefs. This is an interesting game. The Falcons defense has gotten healthy, and they've been better. I got burned on the Chiefs last week with Kelsey, just the crazy game against the Saints. So I think this is one of those sneaky games where the Falcons come to play. They're at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not blowing teams out by any stretch. So if you're thinking, oh, this is an easy one for the Chiefs, they just haven't been doing it. I think 6 straight games have been 1 scores. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out. They're left with Darrell Williams and Le'Veon Bell. And I just wonder, how many carries is Le'Veon Bell going to get? Because that injury to Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked horrible. Like, it looked really, really bad. I got to wonder, they're like, well, he's on IR. He might be back for the playoffs. And I'm pulling a Jim Moore. I'm like, playoffs? Playoffs? like his ankle and leg bent the complete opposite direction. So I wonder, how many touches is Le'Veon Bell going to get if they know they got to keep this guy healthy for the playoffs? So I might be looking at some Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes action, and the corpse of Todd Gurley under. Maybe. What do you think, Matt?
Well, you're not going to get any value now because they've basically said that Ito Smith is their guy now. So their value was probably last week and the week before for Gurley's under. I mean, he's not going to. If they put it up, I might take it, even if it's like 25, because he's not going to get a lot of carries. He shouldn't with him and Brian Hill, Ito Smith and Brian Hill. And to me, this is a Kelsey game. Kelsey anytime touchdown, maybe Kelsey 2 touchdowns because Atlanta is terrible against tight ends. I'm always leery of taking because once again, it's weird because there's certain guys that I don't have a problem taking like 6.5 receptions. Like if it was Allen Robinson, I have no problem doing that. There's a couple guys, but I always feel like there's a Kelsey egg occasionally. It hasn't happened that much this year because he's killing this year, but I feel like in the past, Kelsey's laid eggs where he's had like 3 for 30. So I'm always scared of doing it, but this week it might be all Kelsey across the board.
Last week was a little bit of an egg. He didn't go over his total. It was down quite a bit. Now game script, obviously, they got up big on the Saints and the Saints could not do anything. So if you're the Chiefs, you're kind of going, wait, we don't need to force this thing. Let's just play it nice and cool. But I'm with you. The Kelsey prop is hit. I'm not going to be scared to go back to it. So we got 3 more games and then the Monday night game after the football games, guys. I'm going to give Mid-Major Matt his present. And then we're going to talk NBA. I'm very excited to talk NBA props with everybody. Let's finish up NFL. Rams at the Seahawks. I was between the Colts and Steelers and Rams at Seahawks about the marquee game. I went with Colts and Steelers, but boy, Rams and Seahawks. What do you do with this game? The only thing that I would lean towards is Tyler Lockett under. He seemed to have disappeared a little bit. Akers gets hurt. Jared Goff pulls a complete Jared Goff last week. He does this 2 or 3 times a year where it's like, plays the worst team in the league and cannot complete a pass. He looked like a JV quarterback. But do we get a little rebound? Do we get the Rams revenge? Do we get Seattle at home? Russell Wilson, is he ready to cook? Are they going to let Russ cook? What do you think, Matt?
Well, here's the question. Is there value on the DK Metcalf under? Because Jalen Ramsey did really well against him in meeting one. I know because I have DK Metcalf on my fantasy team and I need him to do something, but I'm worried about Jalen Ramsey Island. So I don't know if I have the stomach to take the under on DK Metcalf because, we saw in that second meeting with Patrick Peterson after Patrick Peterson shut him down the first time, we saw him do better. But I think Jalen Ramsey's the number one corner in the league. And then on the other side, this should be a Cooper Kupp game. This should be a Robert Woods game. But once again, you mentioned it. It's Jared Goff, and I can't trust Jared Goff. And then what do you do at running back? No Cam Akers. Is it going to be the Henderson show? And is Henderson going to do well? Or is Malcolm Brown going to there's a lot of question marks here that have to get answered. And so it's a very good game in terms of the talent on the field, but the props, it's kind of skim.
Well, I do want to point this out to everybody. And of course, everyone that's watching this loves props, and Matt, you do as well. Here's one of the beautiful things about props. If you're ever worried about something, if you're like, I'm not too sure about it, there are so many props on the board that there is never a reason to force a bet on a prop. Like, so if you're like, man, I don't know if Cooper Kupp's going to be the guy this week because it's Jared Goff. I'll just go look at the 47 other props in this game, or I'll go, look at the Eagles and Cowboys, which we're going to talk about. It's one of the best things about prop betting is there's so many options and there's never a reason to force a bet on it. Like you have all the opportunity in the world to be very smart and only pick and choose your best. And honestly, that can be the difference between a 52% win percentage and a 60 win percentage is that flexibility with all of the bets available. Let's get to the Eagles at how about them Cowboys? So Matt, I'll just let you talk about the Eagles. What are you thinking so far? You liking what you see from Jalen?
I am. I like what I see. I still don't like the play calling. To me, I'm giving the ball to Sanders 15, 20 times every time. I think this is the perfect game to do so. Dallas is just terrible against the run. And I like what Hurts is doing. Granted, his rushing yards are all over the place, and I think that the Cardinals tried to keep him in the pocket as much as possible. Dallas doesn't have anybody to do that. I mean, you look at Dallas's defense, and the thing the NFL did, the NFL had the Washington game at 1 o'clock. Well, the Washington game at 1 o'clock meant that this game would have meant nothing if Washington would have won because they win the division. Well, they moved Washington now to 4:05, so Washington's playing at the same time in a game that if Haskins starts, they could lose. So you're going to get maximum effort here. I also like the under for Amari Cooper. If Darius Slay plays, he's dominated Amari Cooper, which means you probably also, by corollary, like the over for CeeDee Lamb or Michael Gallup because the weaker corners are going to be on those two guys. So I want to make sure Slay's practiced all week, want to make sure there's no shenanigans or anything. But if he does, I'm going to take under on Amari Cooper. He just doesn't do very well against Darius Slay. And I'm going to hope for a Miles Sanders anytime touchdown once again and thinking that they're going to commit to him and make him do some good stuff against this bad Dallas defense.
That is such great information on Darius Slay and Amari Cooper. That thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Yeah, and he doesn't have Dak throwing him. He's got Dalton. So it's not like Dalton's going to be pinpoint accurate. Like if Cooper's covered, he ain't throwing to him. So that's really good stuff. So you mentioned Sanders. Is there anything we can do with the passing game with the Eagles, or do you think this is just now a run heavy offense with not a lot going on?
Well, I mean, apparently he likes Alshon Jeffrey because Alshon's catching passes now, which was a revelation to Carson Wentz. And then you look at Jalen Reagor, they have a decent combination. It's funny. So I took the last couple weeks, I took the Greg Ward over because it was 2.5, and he's the slot guy and he's the safety valve guy. And of course it didn't hit. And then last week I didn't take it and he had 3 catches last week. Because you look at the number, Andy, you look at it 2.5 and you're like, dude, the guy's going to catch 3 passes. And then for like 3 straight weeks, he catches 2 and you're like, what the hell? And then the next week, of course, he gets the 3rd one. So I can't trust any of those guys. I can't trust Ertz. I can't trust Goddard. Ertz has done better with Hurts as of late, but I think the running game is where you're looking at for the Eagles more than the receiving game.
Right. And wow, talk about props galore. Titans at Packers. So you've got all the Aaron Rodgers props. You've got all the Devontae Adams props. You've got Tanyan, who's been scoring touchdowns. Then you look at Derrick Henry, who has just been an absolute beast on his over rushing totals. A.J. Brown just continues to hit his anytime scoring touchdown. Tannehill keeps completing a lot of long passes, in particular to Corey Davis. So, I mean, like, could we do like Corey Davis over his total, Ryan Tannehill longest pass, Derrick Henry over rushing, A.J. Brown to score a touchdown, Devontae Adams over his receptions, Aaron Rodgers longest reception parlay. What do you think?
Well, I was just looking up. The weather is supposed to be snow showers and bitterly cold, so that might put a damper at least on the Tennessee side. I don't know how many times that Ryan Tannehill has played in sub-zero temperatures or whatever, but this is Aaron Rodgers' territory. Of course, last week we talked about the prop on the show. It seemed so easy, and of course,
oh my God,
I mean, that was very frustrating to watch.
As soon as Aaron Rodgers ran in for a touchdown, I immediately was like, we're losing this. Like I said I couldn't figure out a game script to how this didn't hit. And then it was like, oh, that's how Aaron Rodgers runs in from 8 yards. That's the game script. How stupid of me.
And he only he attempted like 25 passes. They, for some reason, decided to run the ball, which, by the way, so watch, Aaron Jones is limited. Jamal Williams did not practice. So if those two guys are banged up, I know A.J. Dillon's there, but A.J. Dillon's not getting 15 to 20 carries. So Aaron Rodgers' completions may come into play if both of those guys are out or limited. So that's something to watch for tomorrow's injury report.
Good stuff. Always check the injury report before you make these bets. And finally, Monday, Bills at Patriots. Man, beginning of the year, this game looked so intriguing, didn't it? And now it just looks like an absolute dud. I got burned. I took Cam Newton under his passing yards, and of course, he was under the entire game until the last garbage drive. And just to rub salt in everyone's wounds, instead of kicking the field goal, they go for it on 4th and 5, which wrecked everyone's teaser. I didn't have the teaser, but I know that was like the teaser loss of the year for everybody, which was just absolutely brutal. Stephon Diggs, just absolutely huge game. He's been incredible this year. Singletary looks good. There's really no weak spots of the Bills. So what do you do, Bills at Patriots?
Oh, see, I'm going up the fantasy championship. I'm going up against somebody who has Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, and Stephon Diggs. So I'm hoping they have a bad day. My favorite stat involving the Patriots, I continue to give it out. They still have not scored a first quarter point at home, and they've averaged 2 first quarter points all year.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's they run the ball, they're committed to the run, and they don't trust Cam Newton. So I might look to exploit that somehow. Maybe a Bills first quarter bet. Maybe I don't know. The Patriots are now in that 0.5 territory when it comes to first quarter points. I don't know if I could take the under, even though they haven't scored first quarter at home. Cole Beasley, they've had problems with slot guys, but Cole Beasley did not have a good game because I had his over the first time. They've been very hit or miss on slot guys, and no Stephon Gilmore. So you figure Diggs should eat. So, but that's kind of how I would look at for this Monday Night Football.
Yeah, all right. I'm with you too. Oh man, geez, you got to be shaking your boots with Allen, and I don't know. Patriots D is not terrible. I could see them gumming that game up and just.
I hope so.
Having it be just
and let it be a Zach Moss game. How about that?
Yeah, let Zach Moss eat. Let Russ cook, but let Zach Moss eat. Right?
There you go. Yes.
So, all right, we're gonna get to NBA props. Matt, I want to give you your present. Okay.
All right.
So there's a lot of Christmas traditions, right? Like, presents and all that stuff. But Christmas carols are also a Christmas tradition.
Are you going to sing for me?
I'm going to sing for you.
Oh my God.
So I wrote a Christmas carol in honor of you. Okay.
Okay.
This is called The 12 Props of Christmas.
Oh God.
You ready?
Oh God.
Here we go. On the 12th day of Christmas, mid-major Matt gave to me 12 Kamara rushes, 11 Tua completions, 10 Haskins lap dances, 9 T. Higgins catches, 8 made kicks by Young Hoku, 7 Jets first quarter points, 6 point teaser with the Bills and Saints, 5 Golden Tate catches, 4 TDs for Jalen Hurts, 3 INTs from Big Ben, 2 more career starts for Foles, and a pair of Derrick Henry TDs.
Well done. That
Merry
was really
Christmas,
good.
Matt.
That was really good. I don't know how long that took you to write it. I don't know where you were mentally when you wrote that. I don't know, but that's,
I wrote it about 2 hours ago, to be honest with you.
I mean, that kind of encapsulates everything. By the way, I forgot to bring up the coup prop, like literally the perfect week for it against the Chiefs. They should get in field goal range plenty of times.
That's why I said 8 made kicks.
There you go. Well, if he makes 8 field goals, that would be very interesting.
No, made kicks. Like,
okay.
So you can get like touchdowns. And that's why I didn't say made field goals. So,
okay.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
That was very nice. That was very nice.
So
you came up with 12. That was good.
Yeah. Some of them were stretches, but you gotta admit, 10 Haskins lap dances is pretty good. That's pretty good. So, all right, Merry Christmas, everyone. All right, let's talk some NBA props. We've got a couple nights under our belt, and let's have a really good discussion about this. Because Matt, you said you normally don't do a whole lot of NBA props, and you're dabbling in it this year. So, just talk to me about the last couple nights, what you've noticed with some NBA props, and then we'll start going through some specifics.
Well, so here's the thing. So I've decided that, I know the Sixers pretty well. I've watched them enough. The hair is white because of the Sixers, among other teams. So therefore, I feel like I should at least put it to good use. But I learned, we talk about on this show the rushing and receiving yards combined and how much we want to make sure to gather all the categories as much as possible. So I figured it carried over to points, rebounds, and assists. So on Twitter, I posted 3 props last night. I posted the over for Embiid, for Beal, and for Simmons. And Embiid went over because he had a double-double.
Huge game. Yeah.
He had a humongous game. And even look, he had a couple of assists. He's the type of guy who's going to get the other people involved. So I feel like that's not a bad bet for Embiid. Beal scored 30 or 28 or whatever it was, but then he had 3 rebounds and 2 assists. It felt just short. And then Simmons filled everything up, had 16, 7, and 9, I think, but it still wasn't enough. So I've learned that the Simmons points would have hit and the Beal points would have definitely hit. So I have to kind of start figuring out now who the players are to do points, rebounds, and assists, and who to do just points. And I guess you even say that there's points and rebounds, and I'm sure there's some people that you should just do points and rebounds with. Maybe Embiid is just a points, rebounds kind of guy.
Yeah, so I've found a lot of value in the points, rebounds, and assists going under, especially with some of the bigger name people. So I've just pull up some of the scores. So my second favorite bet in the playoffs last year was Giannis. They put his total points, rebounds, and assists at 52.5, and they did it night after night. You have to have the perfect game every single night. Like it's basically a triple double to get. You got to be going 32, 11, and 11, which is really hard to do. And if one category falls short, that prop goes under. So when I do NBA props, I'm constantly looking at bigger name guys with these really inflated totals. Marcus Smart was my favorite bet in the playoffs last year to go over this total because he was constantly involved. That is completely flipped this year. He is now the point guard in replacement of Kemba Walker, and he has 2 jobs. His first job is to pass the ball. His second job is to get back on defense. He had 1 rebound the other night. So I'm going to be looking hard at playing Marcus Smart under some of these combined totals. Because even if he has a really good point night, he's probably not going to have a good rebound night because he's so far away from the basket. I know Chance does really good. He's in here. He loves the race to 12, which is the first team to get to 12 points. It's a really good way to take advantage of a good team over a lesser team. If you're worried about like the backdoor cover or, things like that, those are great. I will say a big theme I noticed is a lot of these guys, these big stars, they're not playing full-time minutes just yet. LeBron and Anthony Davis. I took Anthony Davis under 10.5 rebounds. He only had 7. He played limited minutes. These guys are not going to be playing full-time minutes, but they're still getting these totals that are reflecting them playing full-time minutes. So there's a lot of value in the unders right now. I'll go into a couple of specific teams. I'll first start with my Pacers. Sabonis looks incredible. Like, I know he destroyed the Knicks, which is not that hard to do, but he is really, really good. He looked so agile. He looked completely healthy. And Miles Turner is just, I said this on Twitter, whenever Miles Turner catches the ball and he looks like he's getting ready to shoot like a 3-pointer, it's like the same feeling as when you're waiting for your STD results. You're like nervous, you're sweating a little bit, like there's so many regrets. He was 0 for 4 from 3-point, but at least they're moving away. So Sabonis is going to own the paint. And Oladipo looked good. I would look to him to get some point totals. And I would look to the Pacers to cover a lot of these spreads. They're a very, very deep team. One injury is not going to crush them. So I like these teams to cover in a really condensed season that don't depend on one team in particular. The Heat, I played Jimmy Butler under his total. It went under. And if you look, that's another team that has a lot of scores. Robinson can score. Butler can score. Bam can score. That's a guy I would look to start taking some overs on. I mean, he went for 25, 11, 4 assists. That's a guy where I would look at points and rebounds. Hero can score. Dragic is an incredible scorer. If he keeps coming off the bench, I would look for him on some overs. So what were some other things you were noticing, Matt, as you were following some of the action?
Well, I mean, I'll comment on the game I watched, the Sixers-Wizards game. I mean, the Wizards looked competent with Russell Westbrook. I mean, Russell Westbrook was hitting jump shots, and when Russell Westbrook's hitting jump shots, that's going to be a big-time thing for them. Bradley Beal is Bradley Beal. I like this Avdija, the Israeli kid. He hit a couple threes. I mean, he's got some size. He started. I threw him in my DFS lineup because I had read that he was starting. He looked good. I mean, I don't know on a night-to-night basis what you can do prop-wise, and I'm guessing it's going to be a while before you even see any props with the kid. But, the Wizards play defense for a nice solid stretch, which is unheard of for the Wizards because usually they're good for 100 points plus for the opponent. On the Sixers side, Tobias Harris is a waste. And I mean,
he was 3 of 13 from the field.
He was terrible. And I mean, if he wasn't paid gazillions of dollars, he would have sat on the bench. By the way, though, I'll say this, Tyrese Maxey was not afraid and the bench looked really good for the Sixers. So there's going to be stretches where the starters don't do well and the bench comes in. I mean, you could bring Maxey off the bench, you bring Shake Milton. I'm going to look at Shake Milton props. Shake Milton played in the fourth quarter and was in part of that closing lineup when it mattered. So Shake Milton, there might be some value there. And, Simmons still isn't shooting. I think it's funny. On DraftKings, he was plus 700 to make a 3. If he makes 1 every couple weeks, if you do it outright, you can make a profit somehow if you just sprinkle a little bit on it every night. Now, look, he's not going to take many, but at plus 700 a night, you might want to look at. Embiid was Embiid. I mean, I think that what we're going to see early on from some of these teams is that there's going to be some rustiness. I think the Warriors are going to be a prop gold for everybody opposing them. I'm interested because I always play the Christmas DFS stuff. I read a lot about Drew Holiday, especially, and they've got the Warriors, right? So I think Drew Holiday could have a big game for them. So we'll see. My question for you is, it feels like Christmas is always the superstars. Like the superstars take it personally. They're playing on Christmas and they have their best games. LeBron goes nuts on Christmas. It feels like.
Yeah. By the way, I do want to throw this out there. It's a good time to bring it up. A great, it's a hilarious promo code. Ho 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 will get you 7 days for $69, which right now is an incredible deal because you'll be able to get every day of NBA props as well as NFL props. So if you want our NFL and NBA props for $69, you get 7. I mean, that's $10 a day for all the props. And I already have my NFL package up and I already have my NBA prop package up. So if you do that tonight, you'll get everything for a week, which is a steal. LeBron twisted his ankle. But he came out and said, I'm playing. He said, I've never missed a Christmas Day game. I'm not going to start now. That being said, I take LeBron in the under on some of his props. Listen, he's an animal, but this is his 18th year. It's amazing. I know it's amazing to think about it. And the Lakers, I don't have numbers to back this up, but I do know LeBron. I've followed him for a long time.
You know him, yes.
This is where LeBron wants to see what he has with his teammates. Whose game? Who can I trust in big name spots? So he knows AD, he can trust. Schroeder, can I trust you? Harrell, what do you got for us? Marc Gasol looked like he was wearing cement shoes. He could not move around. He was awful. At this rate, he will not play any minutes moving forward. He's going to take a look at Matthews. He knows what he gets in Kuzma, but he also wants to see a little bit more. I don't see a big stat game for LeBron in this. This is the kind of year where he needs to see, what do I have going into the playoffs? Because I don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed. I think Davis and LeBron get some rest, and I don't think they really care about having the number 1 seed. I could see him even be the 3 or the 4 seed. So I look for LeBron to not. I mean, he only had 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and that was against the rival Clippers. So I think you're going to see a little bit less. AD only had 18 points. But if I'm looking at the Lakers, I'll tell you who I did like. I like Harrell in that rebounds total. He had 10 rebounds, and I think I looked and I saw his total was only 6.5. That's a guy, his sole job is to protect the rim and be around the rim. He's going to get a lot of rebounds. So for Lakers, I lean kind of fading LeBron on the unders, because you're always going to get inflated numbers. And in years past, yes, Christmas has been a Stars game, but you got to remember the season started 3 months ago. This year, it just started. So the feeling is a little bit different. The Warriors are going to be, I gave out on Wager Talk today, the Bucks first half against the Warriors. The Warriors, Draymond Green's out for at least 3 more games, which means the interior of that defense is a rookie in Wiseman and a bench guy in Pascal. And on the outside, you have Steph Curry trying to guard people. This is a recipe for disaster for the Warriors. And you mentioned Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday over points total has already made my card. I'll give that out.
I like Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday over 16.5 points. He looked like he'd been playing with Giannis and Middleton for years. That was a really, really good performance. If you can find a prop for Giannis to miss a big free throw, always take that one. He did it again.
Airball one.
He's so bad at free throws in the clutch. I mean, yeah, so bad. What were some other things you noticed, Matt?
Well, I feel like Dennis Schroeder fits the Lakers well too, especially if LeBron's as part of that second unit. I mean, Schroeder loves to shoot. He doesn't pass the ball very much, and so I feel like he's the type of guy who would fit in well there. I mean, obviously, I'm still trying to learn as I watch guys like you and the various shows we do here on the Wager Talk channel. So I'm still trying to figure out but I feel like, okay, so let me bring up another name. Luka, sure. I feel like is a points, rebounds, assists over, because he does everything, correct? But the number is going to be really high, though.
This is where I think you're going to have to fight your intuition. It really does depend on the number. So I'm looking at, so he went 32, 8, and 5. So on paper, you're going, oh my God, that is incredible. I mean, 32 points, that's amazing. 8 rebounds, that's 40. 5 assists, that's 45. But with Luka, they're going to start hanging 50 as the number, which means to get that over, he's going to need to go 35, 8, and 8 to get that over. So when you get those huge numbers, the value actually is in the under. And always remember, with these props, people want to bet the over, especially with the big name guys. So with someone like Luka, I hope that number gets to that 50, that magic 50 number, because they don't have Porzingis yet. He will come back. They have other guys that can score. I mean, Hardaway had 12, Richardson had 12, Smith had 11. Powell just, he's a clunker. He's in there to, I don't know, absorb fouls. But yeah, I would say keep an eye on some of the unders of these big name guys. Now, Embiid he's an over machine. If your book has points and rebounds, he's just an over machine on that one. So I wanted to wait a game to see what that team would look like, because I was like, maybe they go away from Embiid. They got other shooters, Tobias Harris, and then Tobias Harris went Tobias Harris, and it's like, oh no, we're back to Embiid.
Well, Embiid also was in a lot of pick and rolls. I mean, I think that's a lot of what, from what I've read, Doc Rivers loves to use the big man in that situation. So I feel like him and Simmons. I feel like Simmons is close to being a points, rebounds, assist guy. But then again, I lost it last night or whenever they play. Yeah, last night. So he's a guy that I feel like you have to pick your spots. Like against Chicago, Ben Simmons is probably going to be a points, rebounds, assists over. It'll be interesting because I feel like there's some teams that are still only played 2 preseason games, so I feel like teams are still trying to figure each other out.
Sure. I talked about this with Andrew McInnis. The poor Raptors, they have absolutely no bench whatsoever. They are going to struggle this year. It's going to be tough. They had 3 people. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had 7 people on their bench play, and only 3 of them scored. So that's going to be a team that it's just going to be really, really tough. I like some unders on that one. Van Fleet just had an absolutely horrible game. I might come back with an over on him. What was the other team? Oh, the Bulls are horrible. Oh my God. Are the Bulls a defensive train wreck? I mean, their team isn't very good, but defensively, they let Atlanta do whatever they wanted. So if you're playing against the Bulls, if your team is, or if you see somebody playing against the Bulls, maybe look at first half over team totals, maybe first quarter team total overs. I wouldn't take like first half total for both teams, because the Bulls, I don't know if they're capable of doing that, but they looked really terrible. Let's see. Anything else jump off the page for you, Matt? No?
I watched all of one game, and I watched some of the Warriors game in that first day, and I saw how bad they are. I mean, Wiseman's going to be interesting. Wiseman's going to get his opportunities, I feel like, with the Warriors, and especially without Draymond. So I feel like his points and rebounds might be interesting. But then again, how's he going to do inside against other NBA centers? So he's a guy I'm watching this season.
I agree. He's talented, but he gets to guard Giannis tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's not going to be good.
So, welcome to the league, young fella. Here's Giannis. So, let me scroll down here and see if there's anything else takeaway. I thought that, the Nets, I wouldn't overreact to how good the Nets looked. They look great, but that was a team that's just awful. I don't buy them.
We gave them the trophy already, didn't you hear? If you read Twitter, the Nets have already won the championship.
Yeah, whatever.
And the earth is flat, right? That's what Kyrie told me.
That's what I said. I said I can't trust a team whose point guard doesn't believe that the earth is round.
Right, exactly.
So I can't do that. And then I guess the other one to keep an eye on, kind of a sneaky, where nobody's betting on this. The Spurs. This is a completely different Spurs team than what you would think of a Popovich team. This is a run and gun Spurs.
Nice.
It's an up tempo, up pace. They know they're not going to outgrind anybody. They know on the defensive end they're not going to pound anybody into submission. They're going to do it with speed. A really, really balanced attack. Let me read you these point totals. This is their starting lineup. Aldridge 20 points, Murray 21, DeRozan 28, Walker 16, Johnson 16. That's as balanced as it gets. I think it's going to be tough to isolate one of these players to go over all the time. But I will say against Memphis isn't great, but Ja Morant's going to be hitting his 44 points. Ja Morant, talk about a great player on a bad team. I kind of feel bad for him. I hope that they get him some help soon. Ja Morant over his point total is going to be money, because this is a team that's starting Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen played 27 minutes for the Grizzlies. So, but the Spurs scored 30 or more points in every quarter against Memphis. I don't care what team you're playing. That's a big number. So if you're looking at just some sneaky teams, there might be some good value on some team totals, particularly in the first quarter or the first half. The Spurs, they're going to absolutely get out and run. And what's interesting is, a lot of teams got 13 guys minutes or 12 guys minutes. The Spurs only dressed 6, 7. They only dressed 9 guys, and every single person played at least 19 minutes. So the Spurs team is telling you, we're going to rotate guys in and out. We're going to keep the pace going, and this is going to be a run and gun type of style. So I thought that was an interesting, sneaky little takeaway from NBA. So, Matt, this was great. You got anything else for us?
No, just looking forward to it. Obviously, we've got the college football tomorrow. We got the NFL tomorrow, so it's going to be a fun day when it comes to watching stuff and the props and things like that. College basketball, there's going to be Big Ten games tomorrow. By the way, Iowa is like a steamroller, except for that Purdue game. They are usually very good in the first halves of games. You see the totals 160-something in that game against Minnesota tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see. I like taking first half overs in some situations because you get less than half the points. Of course, it bit me in the butt for the Creighton Xavier game. They went scoreless the last 3.5 minutes or so, and it would have won if they would have continued their pace. So just something to look for. Sometimes if you see two teams you like that score a lot of points, the first half overs, sometimes the games are 155 total wise, and the first half over is 71 or 72. So there's some value there. Obviously, the last minute or so slows down a bit because you want to, play the clock, but for two teams that score a lot, that's a very good value there for 19 minutes. So it's just something to look forward to if you like two teams that score a lot in college basketball.
Oh, great stuff. Love hearing some of those numbers from you about the first halves and all those real particulars. Promo code scrolling across screen. Ho, ho, ho. Get 7 days for $69. My NFL package is up. My NBA package is up. And starting probably Sunday, I will have an NBA package up every single day once I really, really get my opinions dialed in.
And so, tell them James Harden sent you for the promo code.
Yeah, it's sent from the champagne room. The Harden and Haskins special. Can we get a promo code, Harden and Haskins?
Oh gosh.
Special shout out to all you guys that are watching. I hope you guys gave you a little entertainment on Christmas Eve. Hope we make you guys a little bit of money. That is Mid-Major Matt. You can find him on Sports Memo. I'm Andy Lang. You can find me on wagertalk.com. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody, and you will be seeing a lot more of us as these props keep coming and coming and coming. 2021 looks like it's going to be a great year. Happy holidays, everybody, and we'll see you next week on Prop It Up. Thank you so much for doing this, Matt. Appreciate it.